Panic rises in Saigon, but the exits are few. By Fox Butterfield, special to the New York Times, April 24th, 1975. Saigon, South Vietnam, Thursday, April 24th. Panic is clearly visible now in Saigon as thousands of Vietnamese try desperately to find ways to flee their country. There are few exits left, and most involve knowing or working for Americans. United States Air Force C-141 jet transports took off all day and night from the Tan Son Nhut Air Base, the lucky passengers heading for Clark Air Base in the Philippines or for Andersen Air Base on Guam. Others, not so lucky, rushed to drugstores to buy quantities of sleeping pills and tranquilizers with which they could commit suicide if the worst came to pass. Still others, trying to get a seat aboard one of the planes, offered everything they had. A young American-trained economist who works for the deputy premier in charge of economic development asked an American friend to marry his wife, who is 3 months pregnant, and take her to the United States with him. "I will pay you $10,000, the Vietnamese said. Under South Vietnam's stringent immigration law, about the only way for a citizen to go abroad since the communist offensive began last month is to be married to a foreigner. A South Vietnamese army captain succeeded in getting his young son aboard an American plane by forging a birth certificate and persuading a Vietnamese neighbor who was a secretary in the American Defense Attaché's office to take him as her son. The office has been evacuating its Vietnamese employees for a week, and the embassy is doing the same today. The captain later asked an American acquaintance to mail a letter to his sister, who is married to a former GI in Lodi, New Jersey. "Please take care of my son," he wrote. "Quan is the last drop of blood in our family. If you have time, pray for us." Although anxiety over the fate of Saigon had been building with the communist inexorable advance down the length of the country since last month, real panic erupted only after President Nguyen Van Thu's resignation Monday. It was fueled yesterday by reports of military clashes on the edge of the city and by new rumors about what the communists will do when they take control. According to military informants, a small communist team attacked the Phu Lam communications base on the southern edge of Saigon yesterday. They reportedly did little damage to the large base, which is only 4 or 5 miles from the center of the city, but the police and soldiers guarding the area fled into Saigon. In Saigon, 3 civilians were killed and 3 others were wounded last night when an explosion caused by a hand grenade ripped through a crowded food market. It was not clear whether communist terrorists or renegade Saigon troops were responsible. This is my country. Many Vietnamese repeated tales about what the communists planned to do. One was that every unmarried girl would be forced to yield herself to 10 comrades. Another was that the Viet Cong had issued warnings that 16 prominent writers would have to cleanse their consciences with blood. Those were among Saigon's 2 million to 3 million inhabitants. The already jammed city has been swollen by a vast, uncountable number of refugees in the past month who said they would remain and go about their lives. "This is my country. I am a Vietnamese," a journalist remarked. "My pride in being a Vietnamese is greater than my concern about politics." Though stores were still doing business and young people jammed the downtown movie theaters from 9 a.m. until the curfew at 8 p.m., there were widespread signs of fear. The black market rate for the American dollar jumped from 2,000 piasters to 3,800 against a legal rate of 755. Some Vietnamese stopped Americans they had never seen before and pleaded for affidavits of support required for visas from the United States consulate. policy more flexible. Under a flexible policy adopted over the past week, the consulate is granting visas to almost any Vietnamese who can produce evidence that an American will finance his transportation to the United States and his resettlement. With a guaranteed dependent status form from the consulate, Vietnamese can then apply at the Defense Attaché's office for a military flight to the United States. They can also pick up expedited exit permits from the Vietnamese Ministry of the Interior, which has opened a special branch at the American compound. According to a spokesman for the embassy, one of the few still open, there are only 1,500 to 1,800 Americans left in Vietnam. There were 7,500 at the end of March. About 300 of the Americans still here are believed to have arrived over the past week to pick up Vietnamese wives, friends, and other dependents. The embassy spokesman said he did not know how many Americans left yesterday, but he added that there had been at least 15 flights by the large Lockheed transports, which can hold 100 to 150 passengers depending on seating. Most of those who left yesterday appeared to be Vietnamese. Hundreds of other Vietnamese milled about the entrance to Tan Son Nhut in the afternoon, standing in the broiling sun with small bags, holding their few belongings. Evacuees were advised to carry only one small bag apiece. The hasty departures of so many after 3 decades of war were accompanied by poignant scenes. A South Vietnamese major stationed in Tay Ninh, northwest of Saigon, called the office of an American company for which his son-in-law worked to find out if his wife had been evacuated. When he found out that she and other members of his family had indeed left, he began to weep. "I don't drink, I don't smoke. There is nothing else for me to do but cry," said the major, whose unit, the 25th Division, has been fighting heavily for 6 weeks. "I called, hoping that I could speak to her one more time," he added. "Now I will never talk to her again."